That's right, I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it. Nobody don't know about it. In fact, J Boogie, let them know what time it is.
You tune in, that means you're feeling the vibe. The bell rung, you already been subscribed. Right now, the queen, she on live.
Salute, Knick family. Welcome to the channel, Dope Soul Sports Talk, Dope Soul Knicks Talk, a member of the NBK family. Who's happy this morning? I am extremely happy this morning. Listen, I thought the Knicks could beat Boston, but the fashion in which they did it in just told me that even though I think this is a very good team, they may be even better than I thought. And I get it. It's just one game. But when you think about how the Knicks have played, even Milwaukee, we haven't beat them, but those games were close. Philly, 2-2 on the season. Boston, I think we're 2-0 on the season. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. The way we played Cleveland, right? Listen, our record obviously is not as good as theirs because they got off to a better start, right? But I believe since we went to the 9-man rotation, I have to double check this. The Knicks winning percentage, their record has been on par with those teams. So we'll talk more about it. I'm not going to get into everything right now. We'll talk more about that. We'll talk about the Knicks defense. We'll talk about whether or not the Knicks are putting this league on notice. We'll talk about them climbing in the standings, and then we'll also preview our next game against the Brooklyn Nets. So let's get into it. Shout out to the chat. Some of you guys were in here early. Andrew K, Jeff Clafter. I appreciate all of you rocking with me this morning. All right, so let's just set this up really quick. Coming into the game, the Knicks were 8 games over 500 at 35-27, sixth in the Eastern Conference. Over our last 10 games, we won 8 of them, and we won 5 straight. Boston came in 14-17 with the best record in the Eastern Conference, and if I'm not mistaken, the best record in the NBA. They also have won 8 games over their last 10 and had won 2 games coming into last night. We started our usual starters, Brunson, Grimes, Barrett, Randall, Mitchell Robinson back for his 3rd game. They started Marcus Smart, Derek White, because Jaylen Brown was out, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and Robin Williams III. All right. Let me just, I've been mixing it up lately. I want to get right into how I feel about the game before I get into, individual stats. This was a total team win. The Knicks had 6 players in double figures, right? In that first half, I think Randall had 12, and he had all 12 of those in the first quarter. Brunson had 13. Quickley had 10. Josh Hart had, I think, 7, or he had 7. RJ Barrett had 8. It was just a total team effort in that first half and for the game, actually. In the first quarter, Boston had 15 points. 15 points. The Knicks defense was on point. And like I've been saying, the Knicks are all business. They're not a rah-rah, emotional type team. You're not going to see that from Randall. You're not going to see that from RJ. You're not going to see that from Brunson. That's not who those guys are. So if you had to sound off and you didn't see the score, you wouldn't even know if we were winning or losing. That's just their personality, but they are coming to play, and they're coming focused. They're coming focused. They was all over Jason Tatum. He got, ejected, I think out of frustration. I believe it was in the fourth quarter. I mean, you could say the game was still within reach because anything can happen in the NBA. But in my opinion, this game was over. This game was over. Boston went on a number of runs, and the Knicks answered every one of them. I believe it was in the second quarter. They went on a 10-0 run. The Knicks were up 20. Boston went on a 10-0 run to cut it to 10. And I don't know if there was some Knicks fans saying, oh, here we go again. But that Knicks team, we haven't seen since I don't know when. The team that doesn't know how to close, the team that's giving up leads. Before you know it, the Knicks hit some timely baskets and we went into the half up 14. Listen, you don't expect in the NBA to hold a 20-point lead, right? It's a game of runs. Knicks going to make a run. Boston is going to make a run. The question is, are you bending or are you breaking, right? Are you getting the timely stops and making timely shots to make sure the team doesn't come all the way back in the game, or are you folding, right? And every time Boston made a run last night, the Knicks answered. We got a timely basket from Mitchell Robinson. We got a timely offensive rebound and putback from Julius Randle. We got a timely shot, from Grimes. The Knicks answered every run. Every run. All right. And we talked about the defensive effort. Listen, they held Boston to under 94 points. Boston is one of the top 3-point shooting teams in the league. And albeit they were without, Jaylen Brown, so what? So what? They still had a lot of 3-point shooters on that team, and they did not shoot well from 3. And it wasn't because they were getting wide open shots and they were just missing. The Knicks was up into them. They didn't shoot well from the 3 because the way the Knicks played last night. The Knicks rotate. You could tell the energy, the effort, to get to those, rotations to make sure they're not giving up open threes was on full display last night. Tatum had 14 points. I mean, I think he did well rebounding wise. He did well, as far as assists. He took, what the Knicks gave him. But as far as points was concerned, he had 14 points. The Knicks was all over. He didn't have a lot of open looks. And that's what you need to do. You need to crowd them, and the Knicks did that. Did the Knicks put the league on notice? I think, teams who have been watching and following the Knicks in the NBA, they already knew the Knicks were a good team, right? Because you have your scouts, you have, personnel that's following them statistically as well, running the advanced stats. So I think teams already knew the Knicks were a good team. But for us as Knicks fans, I guess the question is, do you feel like we've put the league on notice? And I say, yeah. I say, yeah. Just in terms of the quality wins we've had against these teams that are above us in the standings, right? Just in terms of how well Randle has played over the course of a season, how well Brunson has played over the course of the season, though he's struggling right now from his efficiency. And we've done this, keep in mind, we've done this with Mitchell missing 14 games, with RJ missing, 6-7 games, with Brunson missing 4 or 5 games. We've been able to hold pace. We've been able to we haven't lost pace, put it that way. We've stayed 6 or 7 throughout the course of the season, regardless of injuries. There was a stretch in which our defense was not good. We still held pace, 6th or 7th in the league, right? This is a good team. This is a team with that next man up mentality. Sims and iHeart came in, gave us what they could, when Mitch was out. Now Mitch is back balling out, 3 double-doubles since he's been back. This is a very, very good team. And as a matter of fact, you could say that we've signed 2 players, because remember, we were playing without Josh Hart and we was playing without Mitchell Robinson for 14 games, and we were playing relatively well. Then you add Josh Hart, and then you add Mitchell Robinson. We shall see. I think, in my opinion, and then I'll get to the chat. I appreciate you guys rocking with me and listening to my long take on the game. I think the Knicks are right on the edge of championship contention. Right on the edge. We're closer than you think. Think about 2 years ago in the bubble, how Phoenix played, right? They went out in the offseason. They brought in Chris Paul. Next thing you know, the very next season, they were championship contenders. Think about Boston. I think it was last season. Struggled throughout the first part of the season. Things started to click. They took off. Next thing you know, within the same season, they were championship contenders, right? And you could talk to, oh, they got Tatum and Brown, but keep in mind, Tatum and Brown wasn't always the Tatum and Brown that we're seeing right now, right? At some point, they had to cross over. Yes, there were flashes. Yes, you could see that they were on their way to being stars, but at some point, they had to cross over, right? They weren't always the Tatum and Brown that we're seeing right now. So it is possible that we have not, and I don't think we have, seen the best of Brunson and Randall. I don't think those guys have hit their ceilings by any stretch. And I know some will argue Randall's been in the league for 9 years. I don't think there's another level to his game, but I think there is. First of all, we've already seen it, right? We've already seen him take his game to another level, right? So it's possible that there's even more there. And for sure, for Brunson, there's definitely more. He's 25 years old. He's yet to, reach his prime. He has a few more seasons before he reaches his prime, right? All of that being said, in my opinion, stardom is stamped in the playoffs. I could say, oh, I think Randall is a star. I think Brunson is a star. Yeah. But that is stamped in the playoffs. So I'm really looking forward to the playoffs to see how this team perform. And I'm looking forward to the playoffs to see how Brunson and Randall perform. And it's okay not to be ready, right? Paul George went to the playoffs. It took him a few times in the playoffs before he was able to cross over, right? It took him Embiid a few times in the playoffs before he was able to cross over. He was like, okay, he's legit. So struggling in the playoffs doesn't mean, oh, you will never, ever be a star. You just struggle in the playoffs. It happens, right? Some guys have to go there a few times before they're able, to perform. Anyway, the last point I want to make before I get to the chat is the Knicks are 5th place in the Eastern Conference, right? And we was talking, oh, can the Knicks make it to 5? They already. I believe it's a half a game over Brooklyn. I have a slide for the standings, so I could tell you for sure. But we're just 1.5 games behind Cleveland. So now the question is, can the Knicks get to the 4th seed and have home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs? That's the next question. All right, let me get to the chat. I appreciate you guys listening to me. Wow. Lloyd Barker Rock Jr., I appreciate you. I'm not sure if this is your first time. If it is, welcome. Hopefully you're subscribed to the channel. The Knicks can make it to 3. That's what I'm talking about, Knicks fans. I mean, throughout the course of the season, no matter what the Knicks did, it was like, oh, but we got a tough schedule coming up. I don't know if the Knicks could do it. When Mitch went out, oh, the Knicks are not going to even make the play-in. It took a lot for the Knicks family to kind of come around to this is a good team. And look at Lloyd Barker Rock the Jr. The Knicks can make it to 3. I appreciate the optimism. Paris Doug, appreciate you. Can't measure Grimes with numbers. Utility master. I hear you. Nick Yak. All right. Jeff Clafter, appreciate you. We play better on the road. So he said, forget the 4th seed. Let's stay in 3. We do better. Sherman, I'm sorry, but we still need a backup power forward. Obi is not the answer. Listen, for the minutes that he plays, though, I don't think when Obi Toppin comes in his 10, 12 minutes that he's a detriment to the team. I don't think in the 10, 12 minutes that he comes in that we're losing leads and that he's not contributing. So I'm okay with Obi Toppin, actually. Jalbino 59, Josh Hart's and Jalen Brunson moved us up a level on tenacity and basketball IQ alone. They freed up Randall and IQ Barrett to follow. You know what? I didn't see the stat sheet. I was just watching Barrett play, and I was like, wow, RJ Barrett is looking pretty good. He's mixing it up. The catch and shoot threes, the driving to the basket, the posting up. He, defensively, he's on his rotations. Then I looked at the stat sheet and it was not good, in terms of efficiency. However, there is something different about RJ Barrett in terms of his energy and his engagement that's not showing up in the stat sheet, Andrew K, RJ showing glimpses the last few games of breaking out of the funk. I'm not giving up on the 22-year-old youngin. Yeah. Sherwin would like to give Randall more rest. This is the grind right here. I don't want the Knicks to rest on their laurels and think that, we have. And matter of fact, Randall only played like 30, 35 minutes last game. Michael Sharon, I hope I said that right. The Knicks team has taken it to another level. They're 9 deep. Nobody will stop them in the regular season, but they will have playoff challenges, but will get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Only the Bucks can beat them. Listen, we saw two years ago that the playoffs are a different animal, But as Andy said on the show, MBK show, no, I think it was Knicks and Bruises yesterday, that the Knicks are already playing playoff type basketball. That's slow, methodical, bring the ball up, ISO heavy type offense. So it's not much changes they're going to have to make. However, in a 7-game series, the coaching staff really gets to key on your best players, and we'll do the same with whoever we're playing. There's no surprises in the playoffs, basically. Ashley Inc. 1, I predicted up to 10 extra wins with the Brunson edition and 5 with IQ starting, so 47 and 42 respectively. I hear you. Mitch is a presence down low. Listen, can we put to bed the narrative that Mitch wasn't rebounding defensively because he was playing so far away from the basket? He's playing the same way these last 3 games, and he's doing his thing on the defensive board, something that I've been calling for a long time. The other game, he had 12 rebounds, 8 of them were defensive. Last night, he had, I think it was 13 rebounds, 11 of them was defensive. He can be a very good defensive rebounder, and we need him to be. So shout out to Mitchell Robinson, 3 straight double-doubles since he's been back. Anthony D, that's regular season, Steph. Slow your roll on Randall. Yeah, I mean, for both Randall and Brunson, we'll see. I mean, we've seen Brunson perform in the playoffs, even in games without Luka Doncic. But I think the team you have around you makes a difference. We could talk about Randall 2 years ago and how he looked like a deer in headlights on some possessions, and he did look out of sorts. But a lot of it also had to do with the team that was around him. We didn't have anybody that could take pressure off of him, anybody else that the defense had to key on, right? Other than Derrick Rose, right? So we're a different team now. I think having better players around Randall will give him more options, and the defense can't key on him, right? Because Brunson is here and because we have other players. Jeff Clafter, New York grinds you down. I love their physicality. Snipes Entertainment, I think we're missing a dog like Giannis, and that's more than a dog. those are superstars, So yeah. But listen, this is what I will say. The superstars we see in the league weren't always superstars. They grew into that. And depending on how we play in the playoffs, that's going to let us know whether we need a superstar or whether these guys are on their way to growing into stars. And not that we don't need another piece, but depending on how they play and depending on how they continue to develop, we might need less than a superstar. It depends. I think, we could talk about Randall and Brunson now in the regular season, but it's the playoffs in which you're solidified, so to speak. All right. Sherwin still thinks we need a superstar. Jeff Clafter, we're one piece away. Keith Turner, I had us at 35 wins, but you couldn't blame people for thinking that way because the way the roster was constructed. I definitely agree. I thought Brunson and Randall would have some issues because we didn't have a lot of shooting around them. and they like to operate in the key. So where were they going to get their space to operate? And they're making it happen anyway. So I agree with you, Keith Turner. There was some concerns. I had the Knicks at 40 wins when we first did the MBK preseason show. Then I had them at 42 wins plus or minus 5. But yeah, Andrew, put respect on my coach's name. All right. Everybody giving me a hard time because I gave Tibbs an A+ for the first half of the season. And that was because I was looking at where the Knicks were. They were in the 6th seed at that time. They were top 10 in offense, top 10 in defense. They had played some games without Brunson, who was injured. They had played some games without RJ Barrett, who was injured, and the results were still there. But people were looking at the minutia of it. Oh, he took so-and-so out. He didn't leave this player in. This is a results-based league. And if you're a coach, your time gets extended because your team is playing well. And when your team is not playing well, the heat gets turned up on that coaching seat, right? Quality coaches lose their job, not because they can't coach, but because the players are just not playing well, or the team is not playing well, or they're not pushing the right button, whatever it is. Right now, the Knicks are flourishing. They're in the 5th seed with the injuries, with major players on this team missing games. You got to give Tom Thibodeau credit. If you want to bash him when the Knicks aren't winning games, you got to give them credit when they are. It can't go one way. Actually, Inc., the Eastern Conference are getting very worried, except maybe Milwaukee, who probably believe they can beat everyone. Okay. All right. Sherman RJ is my guy, but he has been missing all season. Yes, but I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing as of late. He's not taking that many shots. His defense has been a bit better. That game in which he had 7 assists, obviously players have to make shots in order for you to get 7 assists, but the willingness to pass. So I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing by RJ Barrett. Michael Sherman, I want to give you a big thank you for how you've helped me look deeper than the surface over the course of this season. Tibbs, front office, players on the roster, etc. Yeah, well, thank you. Well, thank you. And you know what? Even for me, I've learned more by sharing the panel with other panelists. It gives me other insights, other ways of looking at things. What you guys say in the chat, I'm not somebody who feels like I have to be right. If I'm wrong, I'm the first one to say, wow, I didn't see it this way. Or you know what? I'm thinking about it a little different because of what someone said on the panel, what somebody said in the chat. Those who leave comments after the video, I don't get to them right away, but I do learn from them. I get different perspectives. So we're all learning from each other. Anthony D. Tibbs deserves credit. He does. He does. I don't know. Maybe he's in the Coach of the Year running. I don't think he'll get it, but he might, he might be in the running now. All right. Michael Sherrod said, I told you that the Knicks was going to blow them out. Nick Yak might be in Milwaukee with a 6'4" forward. They are too big. We need RJ. Stop the bench, RJ. Listen, we need RJ. RJ needs to, yeah, we do. But RJ needs to step up. What's the sense of having somebody in there because he's 2 inches taller and you're not making it happen? So I agree with you. We need RJ, but we need RJ to play at a high level. We don't just need a body in there who's 2 inches taller, who's not doing what he needs to do on the defensive end and not hitting shots, right? So we need him to play better. That part, I do agree. Lloyd Parker, the Knicks forced a lot of bad shots, and after that, Boston didn't know what to do. Old school basketball, baby. Yeah, I thought so. I thought so as well. Nikki B from Harlem, we were 4 games behind Cleveland in December. Now we're 2.5 games behind. We have been playing slightly better than Cleveland. I think we're 1.5 games, but let me take a look at that. Maybe I saw that wrong. And correct. They're 26-14 since the rotation move. You know what I think Tibbs did this season? I think he said, you know what? I'm on the hot seat. let me do it my way. Let me do it my way. I've been a company man. Let me do it my way. I only want to play 9. I was playing 10 because, maybe there was some pressure from the front office, or maybe he felt like, I have to play Fournier. I have to do this. I have to do this. Then he was like, nah. Rose, I'm seeing you in practice. You my guy. Not looking that great. You out. We need some defense. And Fournier, I understand you making 17, 18 million. You broke the 3-point record, franchise 3-point made record last season. We need defense. I'm going down to 9, and if it was up to him, I don't even think Obi would be in the rotation. It's just not his type of, it's just not his type of player. We have no answer for Giannis unless Randall drops 40. I don't believe so. Look at the games we've played Milwaukee. Those were close games. Milwaukee is not an offensive juggernaut. Defensively, they're one of the top defensive teams in the league. But so are the Knicks. The Knicks are climbing up, right? So they're a better defensive team than the Knicks, but they're not a better offensive team than the Knicks, right? So, yeah, would I put money on Milwaukee winning a series against the Knicks? Yes, I would. I think they would win, but I don't think the Knicks wouldn't show well against Milwaukee. Anthony Grant, yep, the Knicks are surprisingly good. Yes, they are. All right. This is just real quick. I like to show this, just the lead tracker, and you can see early in the first, Boston had the lead. Might have been 2-0 or whatever it was. And then after that, it was all New York. There was only one lead change. That's when the Knicks took the lead in the first quarter and never relinquished it, right? The biggest lead Boston had was 3. And again, it was in like the first 2-3 minutes of the game. The biggest lead the Knicks had was 20. The Knicks basically from beginning to end dominated the Boston Celtics. We'll go over this really quick. Randall, 23.7 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 3-pointers. Wasn't his most efficient game, 43.8% from the field. Quickley. What can you say about Quickley, man? 23 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 3-pointers, 53.8% from the field. Had 10 points in the first half. He's just really been playing well. Brunson, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Not his most efficient game. Matter of fact, the past few games, he has not been very efficient, shooting just 33.3% last night. 6 Knicks in double figures. The Knicks shot 47.4% from the field, 38.7% from the 3-point line, and poor free throw shooting, 67.6%. It didn't matter. Boston, Smart basically led them in scoring. He was the only one that really seemed to be imposing his will on the Knicks. 19 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 2 3-pointers. Brogdon, 23 points. Tatum, 14 points. He did have 7 rebounds, 9 assists, but only 33.3% from the field. And the Knicks had a lot to do with that. White, 13.6 rebounds, 4 assists, a block. They shot 44% from the field, only 21.4% from the 3-point line. And the Knicks had a lot to do with that. I got them shooting. They shot 9 for 4,278. And they shot 78.6% from the free throw line, 11 for 14, not 11 for 142. All right. Let me see if there's anybody else I want to point out. Josh Hart, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 3-pointers, and all the intangibles you get from Josh Hart, right? He played 27 minutes last night. And have you noticed that RJ Barrett's minutes have been down since the All-Star break? Last night he played 26 minutes. He was only 4 for 14. He looked better than the stats. He shot 28.6% from the field, but RJ Barrett to me looked better than the stats indicated. Wow, I didn't know it was that bad. And he had 5 turnovers. I might have to take that back. 10 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 28.6% from the field, and had 5 turnovers. Maybe he didn't look as good as I thought he did. Wow. Mitchell Robinson, 10 points, 13 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks, only 1 turnover. Mitchell Robinson was a monster last night. a monster. And this is what I want to see from Mitchell Robinson every night. This is his third straight game of a triple-double. And I get it. As far as scoring is concerned, he is dependent on others, dropping the ball off to him, giving him alley-oops other than the putbacks that he get. But in terms of rebounding, he can do that. He had 13 and 11 of them were defensive. Wasn't iHeart's best game, 16 minutes, no points, 1 rebound. Not his best game. Obi Toppin in 12 minutes, 9 points, 4 rebounds. I don't have a problem with Obi Toppin. I think in the minutes in which he gets, he gives us something, right? He attacked attacked the basket, had a nice layup going toward the basket. I'm okay with Obi Toppin. Quentin Grimes, 22 minutes. That's been about where he's been since Josh Hart has been here. So when we were talking about where the minutes coming from Josh Hart, it seems to be coming from Grimes and Barrett, right? So he had 5 points, 4 assists, shot 40% from the field, had a timely 3-pointer. I'm okay with the way Grimes is playing as well. Attacking the basket, he had 4 assists because he was attacking the basket and spraying it out and looking for people, and they were hitting their shots. All right, team stats, and then I'll check in with the chat after this. The Knicks out-rebounded the Celtics 44-35. Points in the paint. Boston was actually better in the paint than the Knicks, 52-42. Second chance points, 17-11. Knicks' favor, that had a lot to do with Randall and Mitchell Robinson. And the bench points, 44 bench points to 29. The bench is back. And that's led by IQ, who had 23, and Hart, who I believe had 14, 15, something like that. They're leading the bench mob, those two guys. And what I like about both of them is that they're two-way players. They're not just putting up points, but they're also defending as well. And then Hart is giving you, he's falling on the floor. He's getting you second chance points. He's batting the ball out. Just really, really playing well. All right, let me get back to the chat before I get to the Eastern Conference. Okay. Efren Lopez, RJ had such a weird game. In the second quarter, Celtics made a run, and RJ himself put the team on his back. Then he kind of faded away. Yeah, I agree with that. Kerry Cox, Obi would only get more minutes. Okay, all right. Salute, Smoking Nick. I appreciate you. Let me know if you on Twitter. I was trying to add you to the DM. Where I dropped a link for the show, but I couldn't find you. All right. Let's see. The coolest 718. Without Obi, most of y'all will have nothing else to talk about. You need Obi more than you think. I'm not sure about that, but I hear you. I don't have any problems with how Obi is playing right now. Nick Yak, Jay Hart is a steal, but we were winning. Before. JJ, Celtics had 8 points off of RJ turnovers. That's awful. I didn't know he had 5. I know he got stripped a few times, but yeah, he had 5. So it's up and down for RJ Barrett. I just want to believe that he's trending up. I want to believe that he's trending up and he's having some hiccups. That's what I want to say. Efren Lopez. People hate to give Tibbs credit, but he keeps molding players into all-stars, all-NBA, 6-man candidates. Yeah. I agree. I mean, I don't agree with everything Tom Thibodeau does, but I think he's a quality coach. And when you have a quality coach, you got to get quality players around them, and if they play well for him, whoever the coach is, you have a good chance of winning. Anthony D, the Knicks are going to be fine for the rest of this regular season. The problem with the team is they can't play half court besides Brunson. Randall refuses to post up. I mean, I like the fact that Randall is mixing it up, but you're right. He's been, earlier in the season, it was the 3-pointer, it was the mid-range, like around the free throw line. Either he was going to take the shot there, or he was going to drive it to the basket, or he was going to post up. And you're right. Lately, I haven't seen much posting. But he's toasting from the other spots, though. Hopefully, in the playoffs, if that's what we need, that his recognition, which has improved, he'll begin to understand that, they're taking this away from me. I got a smaller guy on me. I need to get in the post. Tibbs is trash. Cam Grimes IQ and do save Tibbs. Listen, you can say that about any coach in the NBA. Their job is safe because of the players playing well. If you have players and they don't play well, the coach is on the hot seat. Period, point blank. When do they get off the hot seat? When the players start playing well. Right? So you could say that about any coach in the NBA. Soulfinger 12, appreciate you. West Coast, you are right. We have better players, and the young cats are starting to get it. Yes, they are. Knicks for life, 3rd seed might put Tibbs firmly in the conversation for Coach of the Year. So right now, the Knicks are 2.5. I think I said 1.5 earlier, but it's 2.5 out of the 4th seed. Only a half game ahead of Boston. Only 2 games ahead of Miami. And we have 3 games with Miami. The first one, 3 games left with Miami. We beat them the first time. We played them Wednesday. And then we're going to have 2 games after that. Right? So if the Knicks want to put some distance between themselves and Brooklyn and Miami, the next 2 games are against those teams. And they'll have an opportunity to do that. Can they catch Cleveland? Yeah, they can. But Cleveland has been playing well also. Over their last 10, Cleveland is 7-3. The Knicks are 8-2, right? And so for the Knicks to overtake Cleveland, the Knicks are going to have to continue to play lights out, and Cleveland is going to have to drop some, right? The Knicks are 2.5 behind Cleveland. I'm okay if the Knicks finish 5th and have the matchup, with Cleveland. I'm okay with that as well. I'm okay with the Knicks finish 6th and have a matchup with Philly. I feel like the Knicks can play Philly and Cleveland well, and Boston as well, Milwaukee as well. JJ, salute. Staff didn't expect Hart to be this much of a team change. He is. He's just one of those. What do you need? You need a 3-pointer? All right, I got it. What you need me to play defense? I got it. We need a second shot. All right, let me go ahead and get this rebound and give us a second chance opportunity. He's just one of those guys, that just basically gives us, what we need. Let me see. I got another super chat. Jabano 59, I appreciate you. Queen Steph, untiring work ethic and online communication skills make you my favorite podcaster. MBK has a star, likes up, happy to support. I appreciate you. Shout out to the MBK fam and shout out to Simeon Russell. Always grateful. I appreciate you. Smoking Nick, holding the Celtics to 94 points is a defensive accomplishment. I agree. 94 points. Listen, the Knicks are 9th in defensive rating since we went to the 9-man rotation. However, there was a stretch of 5-10 games where the Knicks were ranked like 23rd or 24th in defensive rating. So there was a stretch in which they were not playing well. Since Hart has been here, the Knicks defense has really pointed upward, right? I believe top 10 if we're just counting the 5 games Hart has been here. And also, the 3 games in which Mitch has been back. Mitch is making, a different, Mitch is making a difference as well. And we're going to need that. The Knicks offense, it's not the prettiest, trust, even though lately they have been moving the ball more. The offense is not much of an issue. Obviously, things do slow down in the playoffs. They're going to key on Randall. They're going to key on Brunson. Let's see how they handle that, right? But if we can get our defense up to par and we got a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense, now we're talking. Yep, any coach, look what happened to Nate McMillan. He looked great. When the team was playing well, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. 2 years later, he's fired because the team wasn't playing up to expectations. It's the roster that makes, I mean, listen, there's some give and take. Don't get me wrong. You can't, a coach is not going to, as I've always said, consistently outplay a poorly constructed roster. You're just not. You might be able to do it for a season or so, but basically talent wins in this league. Can a coach make a difference here and there? They absolutely can. But this idea that if you just get a good coach, it's going to drag any roster, no, it's not going to happen. Maybe for a season or so. Look at Nick Nurse. Last season, they didn't have any superstars on that team. They finished, I think, 4th or 5th. I was like, wow, Nick Nurse is a really good coach. Now they 12. You go into the forums in Toronto, the same thing we were talking about with Tibbs, they talking the same thing about Nick Nurse. If your team is playing, you're a great coach. If your team is not playing, you're not. They're complaining about Steve Kerr. They're complaining about him in Golden State, that he's playing. He's not making the right rotation calls. He's playing guys who are too small when he has height on the bench. Why is he stuck in this small ball lineup? As a coach, you start losing, the fans are going to complain. That's just how it is. All right. So we play Brooklyn Wednesday. We're a half game ahead of Brooklyn with an opportunity to be 1.5 games if we get this win. Listen, we lost to Brooklyn last week or the week before? I think it was before the break. Yeah, before the break. This is not going to be an easy win. So the expectation that, Brooklyn is just going to lay down, I think they're 3-7. Yes, 3-7 over their last 10. They lost their last 2 games. They're going to be up for this game. So if the Knicks come in sleepwalking, which I don't think they will, thinking all they have to do is show up, they're going to lose, right? Brooklyn is capable, right? But if the Knicks show up as the Knicks, playing the defense that they played against Boston, the Knicks win this game easy, right? So right now we are 36-27. We are 9 games above 500. We're 5th in the Eastern Conference, 8-2, over our last 10. We won 6 straight, right? Over the last 10 games, we're 3rd in offense and 8th in defense and 3rd in net rating, which is the difference between our offense and defense, meaning it's not close games, right? 9.1 points. That's the difference between our offense and defense, plus 9.1, right? So the Knicks are playing well on both sides of the ball over their last 10 games. Brooklyn, not so much. They're 24th in offense, 28th in defense, and 28th in net rating, right? They beat us twice this season, albeit, both times was with a combination of Kevin Durant and or Kyrie Irving, right? We won the last game without those two. But numbers aside, we understand that these numbers are just telling us what has been and what could be, but it's not telling us what will be, right? On any given night, a team can win. Obviously, on any given night, your team can lose. The Knicks have to show up against the Brooklyn Nets. I anticipate we'll have the same starters: Brunson, Grimes, RJ, Randall, Mitchell Robinson. The last game they started Spencer Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Nick Claxton, right? That's the Knicks. All right, this is where you can find me. I'm going to check in with the chat one more time before I'm out of here. Thursday, I'll be back with the morning recap show, 9:15-ish, to break down the Knicks win against the Brooklyn Nets. And then Thursday night, the Just Nicking It show, me, Stafford Don, Ajay, Jerrell, and whoever else wants to join me. Smoking Nick, if you do have a Twitter account. If you can DM me, DM me, then I can send you the link. All right, Smoking Nick, that's light work. All right, I hope you're right. Stafford Don, appreciate you. The Knicks are planning to sign Dwayne Washington Jr. on a 2-way contract. Sources tell ESPN. Washington averaged 7.9 points in nearly 13 minutes for the Suns this season. Woj. Is he a point guard or an off guard staffer? All right. Shout out to Sean Kearns, who says we're going 7-0. Cole Mega, Paris Duggar, Jeff Clafter, staffer, of course. Maquel Wells. I hope I got that right. If this is your first time, welcome. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification button so you'll be notified anytime I go live. Kenny Payne, I appreciate you. Soulfinger 12, Kerry Cox. Brooklyn playing for pride. I don't think they got a first-round pick this year. Now, in all of the picks that they've picked up from Phoenix and Dallas, none of them were for this year. Well, Dallas couldn't give them theirs this year because we have it. Wow. All right. Dritmore, appreciate you. Pudge Nice. Always a pleasure. Sherman, I appreciate you. 117 watching, only 44 likes. Hit that thumbs up building out the building. Hit that thumbs up button as you exit. I appreciate that. That helps support the channel. And the way YouTube does it, there's an algorithm. It'll help get this show's thumbnail in front of more viewers so that they can click on and support the channel. Pudge Nice, Nate was a real coach. Yeah. But even real coaches get fired. Tibbs is a real coach. If the bottom falls out, you get fired. That's just how it is in the NBA. What have you done for me lately? Okay, Nick Yak, who thought Obi was great on both sides of the ball, and not getting more than 12 minutes. If you think he's getting a second contract, probably not. Probably not. Kerry Cox, I appreciate you. We surveyed 1,000 people. I appreciate you. Jalbino 59, I appreciate you. The Coolest 718. I may not get to everybody. If I skipped you, it's nothing but love. Knicks for life. Ashley Inc. 1, Nick Yak, Andrew K, Ron, who I believe was in the building. I appreciate you, Ron, for still Knick fans. Keyshawn. I think I got to everybody. I want to make sure I didn't miss any super chats. Anthony D, appreciate you. I think I got to everybody. All right. Tim Smith. Yeah. That's right. Tim's listening. He told Mitch he had an A on offensive rebounds and a C on defensive rebounds, and Mitch got the message. Exactly. Andrew K, Boston is 9-2 versus the Atlantic Vision. Both losses to New York. Maybe we match up well with them. First time since 2014 that the Knicks beat Celtics 2 in a row. Look at the history. You get a lot here on this channel. Anyway, I appreciate you all from watching. There's no me without you. I say that all the time. And that's for all of the content creators. Until next time, peace.
You tune in, that means you're feeling the vibe. The bell rung, you already been subscribed. Right now, the queen, she on live. Right now. Please pull over the whip, no phoning when you drive. Dope Soul sporting with the talk. First lady from New York, Brooklyn. All my people, you rocking with the chat. Hit that. The like button would tell me where you at. You know, step from the MBK. Born and raised up MBK. Hey, real lady, where she holding it down. No matter way how you feel, she gon' greet you with a smile.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Dope Soul.
Where you at?